Okay, hello all. When you open SAP GUI, sometimes you can see a few servers, and the other time you can, in the different systems, you can see only 2022 server, and then in other user ID you can see only 2023 server. That doesn't mean that they're not going to work in this training system. The thing is, you need to add, right? If you can't find any specific server, right, you need to add it yourself. Okay. So for that, in general, even in the projects, when you join in the project, right? So they'll install SAP GUI. That means this software. You may not be able to see any servers here. It might be blank, right? So to add servers which are related to your customer, right, you need to create connection, right? In most of the time, system admins will automatically add all those servers. So you can see all those servers here. But if you can't find any specific server, you can add it yourself. But for that, what you need? You need application server, or we can also say host. First, click on create here in the SAP GUI, create connection. Click on next. Here, provide the description. Description can be anything. For example, SAP 2021. Description can be anything. Okay. And now, what we need to provide here? Application server, nothing but in few cases you can see IP address here. In the other cases you can see some host name, right? That will be like the host name is like S4 2021. For this 2021 server, this is the application server address, S4 2021. Or in the other cases, instead of this, you can see some IP address also. You can see that IP address here, right? This is mandatory. And system admin should provide these details. You need to contact your basis administrator. So in SAP, we call that system admins as basis administrators. Okay, BASIS, basis. Okay, basis administrators. So who will create new user IDs and who will provide you the access to the SAP system. Okay, so they'll provide this application server address, right? And instance number, system instance number. In this case, for SAP S4HANA 2021, 21 is the system instance, and system ID is also required. A4H is the system ID. These three inputs are required to create a new server. New server in the sense you are not creating the entire server. You are creating a connection. Okay. You are creating a connection to access the server in GUI. Okay. Server is already there. Server should setup should be already implemented. That server should be ready, right? To access that server, you need this connection. Okay. For that, you need application server, instance number, and system ID. These three inputs are required. Okay. Once you entered all this, click on next and finish. A new connection is created here. Okay. A new connection is created here. Double click on this and log in here. Okay. Enter your user ID and password. You can access your SAP system. Okay. Like that, you can add 2022 and 2023 servers also in the same GUI, ECC system also. I'll give you those connection details, right? All of you add all these three systems in the SAP GUI. Okay. I'll provide the connection details. Is everyone clear how to create a new connection in SAP GUI? Server connection in SAP GUI. You should aware of this even when you join in the project. So you should not say that I don't know how to create it. Okay. If you want to change it, if there is any changes to the existing connection, select it, click on the symbol, so it will show. I'll just change it. Okay, and click on OK. So it will change the connection details. Okay. Okay. So I'll just give you a quick recap on whatever the topics we discussed in the previous session. So we created data elements and domains and used in the table creation. So what is data element? Data element is a semantic attribute which contains field labels, field descriptions, right? And what is a domain? What is a domain? Domain is the technical attributes of the table field. Okay, technical properties of the table field. Okay, technical properties of the table field. What are the technical properties? Data type, length. These two are the important technical properties of the table field. It defines what type of field it is, what is the length of that field, right? Technical properties of the table field it defines. Clear? And we can create
attribute.
yeah attributes, or for conveniently you can say properties of the table field. Okay, so to create data elements and domains, we have two approaches: top down approach, bottom up approach. Top down approach is first we create the domain. Here go to S11, enter the domain name, right? For example, the test I'm creating here in a new server. In the previous session I created in 2023 system, okay, but today it is different server, 2021 server. That's why whatever the objects we created in the other system we cannot find here. We need to create it from the beginning. EMP-ID. Let's create a domain. What are the technical attributes? What is the data type of employee ID? Character data. And what is the maximum length? 10. Right? Is it case sensitive or not? If you want to make it as a case sensitive value, select case sensitive checkbox so that it will make it as case sensitive, so that the data will be saved as it is in the uppercase or lowercase. Okay. If you don't select it, by default it will convert everything into uppercase. Okay. Okay. So activate the domain and go back. What is the next object we need for semantic attributes? Data element. I am taking same name as domain. Okay. You can take it because both are different type of objects, right? This is domain and the other one is data element. You can take same name for different type of objects. Select the data element option, create the data element, employee ID. In the domain, provide the domain name. Is it mandatory, right? Is it mandatory to create a domain for data element? That's a very important interview question. Observe the options here. It is not mandatory to use a domain for a data element. You can directly create a data element and use that in the table creation. Okay, domain is not mandatory. But why we need a domain? Without a domain, you cannot reuse technical properties or technical attributes of the field, and you cannot have case sensitive option. You cannot control that without a domain. Case sensitive property you cannot control if you don't create a domain, right? So for that reason, right, to activate the case sensitive option, value ranges, fixed values, all these options, right, we need a domain. If you are not using domain, you cannot use a case sensitive option, you cannot use a fixed values, value ranges, and value table option. Okay, if you without a domain, let's say you don't have a domain, you can go to built-in type, and provide the data type and length. This is also possible, and activate the data element. I think we need to maintain the field label. Maintain the field label. Okay. Now activate the data element. You can create data element without a domain. Okay. Please remember, you can create a data element without a domain and you can use it in the table. Okay. But what are you missing? You're going to miss case sensitive option. You're going to miss value tables, fixed values, and value ranges. You cannot use these additional options if you are not using domain. Is everyone clear? It is always recommended create a separate domain, okay, or use existing domain. If the domain is already available, use that existing domain. Okay, I'm changing it. Instead of built-in type, I'm using domain name. It's a very important interview question. Please remember, can we create a data element without a domain? Is it possible or not? Please answer, is it possible or not to create a data element without a domain?
No, sir.
Yes.
I've just created, right? I removed the domain. I'm removing the domain, going for built-in type and activate the data element. I created it without using a domain name, right? It is possible, but you are going to, like, you may not be able to use few properties which are available in the domain level if you are not using domain. Okay, it is possible to create a data element without the domain. Clear? Next, we'll continue with the table creation. Z test employee. Is this table already available? No. Create the table. I'm creating it again because most of you did not answer properly. Employee master data. Delivery class A, application table, delivery and maintenance allowed, and next step is maintain the fields. What are the fields required in employee master table? It is a primary key. Employee ID is a primary key. What is the next field required? Employee name. Did we already create a data element and domain for employee name in the new system? No, right? We need to create it. Now let's use a bottom up approach. Z-test emp name, press enter. There is no data element available with this name. Okay, there is no data element available with this given name, right? Or you can also find for existing domain, existing data elements for this requirement. For example, Z star name. Try this keyword and press F4 in your keyboard or press this symbol. So it will show all the available data elements with that matching, right? Matching keywords. ZEMP name, right? So you can use any of the existing data elements and domains, right? You don't need to create every time, right? First check for the existing data elements and domains. If there is no suitable data element and domain available, then only create a new one. Okay, don't create every time. Whenever you create a table, don't create a domain and data element. First check for existing objects and then create a new one if the existing are not suitable. Okay, but you can ask me, like, how can we know what are the available existing data elements? You need to go by the naming standards. Okay, for example, if you want to search for the custom data elements, Z star, that means name starts with Z and in between there is some keyword called name, or you can also use keywords like this: Z star emp star name, F4. So it will show any data element name that starts with Z and in between there is these two keywords emp and name. Somewhere in between the name there are these two keywords emp and name. For that you need to use the stars, okay, the star symbols, and press F4 or press that magnifier symbol. It will show the matching names. You can see a lot of data elements, right, with the employee name, right? If any data element is suitable, use it. Otherwise, create your own. But for now, create your own data elements and domain for practice. Okay, create your own data elements and domains with your specific naming standards. Like, not everyone create using this Z test. Okay, create, for example, if Vinith is creating, enter the table name like ZVIN. So, data element name like ZVIN EMP name, right? So that you can easily find your own objects. Okay, use this some naming convention. Every one of you try to use a unique naming convention. Okay, For tables also, try to use your own unique naming standards. Okay, double click on this, to create it. For now, everyone create your own data elements and domains, even though there are existing data elements available. Provide the description, employee name, maintain the field label. You can see the importance of field names when you are working on the reports. Now go to data type. Now tell me, do we need a case sensitive option for employee name? Maybe I don't know. I don't want the case sensitive option. I want to save all the names in uppercase only. I don't want to maintain any lowercase names. And I don't want any field fixed values and value table option. I just want to make it as a free entry. I don't want any possible values. Then I don't want a domain. I don't need a domain. Provide the data element and length here and activate the data element. Name is, we have created a data element for name. We did not create a domain for this, right? We created a data element without a domain because I don't want case sensitive option and I don't want fixed values, value ranges and value table option to maintain any possible values. Okay, I want to make it as a free text field, right? I don't want to restrict any names. Next, city. Do we need to create a data element for city, a new data element and domain for a city? When you are creating the table, create yourself. Okay, don't use the standard for now, but we have a standard data element for city, that is ORT01 underscore GP. You can go to KNA1 table and there you can check what is the data element for city. Okay, this is the standard data element available. You don't need to create when there is a standard data element. Okay, so when you are working in the projects, please remember, don't create every time a new object. If there is an existing data element available, use it. Okay, clear? Or let's quickly create it. Z test. Okay, for this I am creating a domain. Okay, I'm giving it as char 40. Activate it. For example, I want to restrict cities. I don't want to allow all the cities, right? So that I can provide the value here. In the fixed values, I can restrict the cities so that user can select only these cities. Okay, activate it. Activate the domain. Go back. Activate the data element. Go back. Okay, so I'm not creating more fields, but you need to create all the fields. Okay, when you are creating the table. Now go and maintain the technical settings. APPL0 for master data and provide the size category, approximate number of records we are going to store, save the table, go back and activate the table. You guys need to maintain remaining fields also like phone number and everything. Okay, now create the entries, create entries 100, employee name. Now observe for cities, it is showing one magnifier symbol. You cannot enter any other name. You can enter only whatever the names available here, right? These are the possible values you can select because we restricted these values in the domain level. Please remember as fixed values. Okay. Select the entry and click on save. So these are the possible entries you can see. So this, right? We are restricting these values in the domain level. Okay. Without using a domain, you cannot achieve this property. Like that, create more records, right? I saved two entries. Now check the contents. We have two records available. Is everyone clear, right? How can we use domain fixed values? I'll give you more examples in the next session. In the next session, we need to discuss more about the tables, foreign keys, and how to establish a foreign key relationship and everything. We need to check in the next session. Any questions here?